مساء الخير على كل المشاهدين وكل أصدقائنا الطلبة والطالبات، وإن شاء الله تقضوا معانا النهاردة حلقة متميزة من مدرسة على الهواء وتستفادوا بإذن الله بكل اللي هيتقدم فيها. اسمحوا لي نرحب بضيفنا النهاردة أستاذ شريف الغالي، خبير مادة البيولوجي بوزارة التربية والتعليم. أهلا بيك يا أستاذ شريف. مستر شريف، احنا النهاردة هنشرح الوحدة الثانية
إن شاء الله.
الوراثة
إن شاء الله.
صح؟
أو نشرح شابتر 1 بس كمان فيها إن شاء الله.
هي كذا
شابتر؟ 3 شابترز 3 شابترز.
طب نبدأ بإيه؟
إن شاء الله نبدأ بشابتر 1 بالجينيتكس كده، نشوف شوية كده بيولوجيكال اكسبريشنز كده عشان الناس تعرف تبدأ، وبعد كده إن شاء الله نشوف الجينيتك بروبلمز وكده إن شاء الله.
نبدأ بإذن الله.
بإذن الله.
اتفضل يا مستر.
طيب احنا علشان الجينيتكس دي الحقيقة يعني لسه الناس يعني فيها اكسبريشنز كتيرة جديدة. فاحنا هنبدأ بأول مجموعة أسئلة كده scientific term.
اوكي.
فأول سؤال بيقول لنا give scientific term for each of the following. A branch of biology which studies the transmission of characteristics from the parents to offspring generation after generation. That means the branch of biology that responsible for the transmission of the characteristics from the parents to the offspring. Of course, that's act as a very simple question because it is genetics. So the genetics study the transferring of characteristics from the parents to the offspring. The next question, which is the scientific term, the value and the benefit of any experiment performed is determined by the degree of adaptation of the tools and the materials to experiment. That means the tools that adapts with the experiment can get the benefit of these experiments or not. Of course, that's the adaptability. The adaptability is the value and the benefit of any experiment performed is determined by the degree of adaptation of the tools and materials to the experiments. The next one, when two homozygous individuals are different in a pair of allelomorphic characters are crossed, the dominant character appear in the F1 while the two characters appear in the F2 in the ratio of 3 dominant to 1 recessive. Of course, that's Mendel's first law or law of segregation. Law of segregation means it is the production of the dominant character in the F1, but the two characters appear in the F2 in the ratio of 3 dominant to 1 recessive. The next question.
نوعية الأسئلة كلها بتيجي بالشكل ده؟
هو لازم يجي scientific term، ممكن يبقى فيه multiple choice. في الجينيتكس لازم يبقى فيه genetic problems، فاحنا هنعمل برضه stress على genetic problems.
بيتهيألي دي أصعب.
مش أصعب، هي ألذ، يعني ألذ، يعني مش محتاجة إن الناس تحفظ كتير لكن تبقى الناس فاهمة كفاية.
هي ألذ بالنسبة لحضرتك طبعا.
لا وللطلبة لا
كمان بتبقى بالنسبة لهم أسهل؟
لا البروبلمز أسهل يعني أسهل كتير، لأنه هو بتبقى مش محتاجة مذاكرة، محتاجة إن أنا أبقى فاهم. طالما فاهم خلاص تبقى مفيش مشكلة يعني. برضو الساينتفك التاني اللي نمبر 4 اللي عندنا it is a description of the external feature of the organism. The description of the external feature of the organism, of course, that's the phenotype. Most of the genetic problems ask the students about what's the phenotypes and genotypes of the individuals. Phenotypes means explain or describe the external feature of the living organism. If the color of the living organism red or white or tall, short, that's act as the external feature or the phenotype of the individual. But the next part is the description of the genes of the character which the organism contains. That ask about the genes of the character. If the genes pure or impure. Therefore, this question asks about the genotypes. So, the phenotype is a description of external feature, but the genotype is a description of the genes which the individual contain. That means the individual pure of this character or impure. The next part, the opposite characters with the clear difference. The opposite characters with the clear difference. That means, for example, tall stem of pea plant and short. The red flower of pea plant and white. That act as the opposite characters. But the biological expression is the allelomorphic characters. So the allelomorphic characters are the opposite characters with the clear difference. As the tall, short, red, white, apical, auxiliary, great number of allelomorphic characters in the genetics. The next question. The geometrical drawing like chess show the male and female gametes. that's ask about the drawing or geometrical drawing, which, like the chess board, show the male and the female gametes. Of course, that's invented by Punnett, so that's called the Punnett square. The next question. Testing is a dominant character if it's pure or impure by crossing the individual with the recessive one. The dominant character may be pure or impure, but the recessive one should be pure. So we need to test the dominant character if it's pure or impure. So we need to causing or carrying out a crossing with the recessive individual. So this test is called test cross. That because I test the dominant individual to determine the genotype of the individual, if the individual pure or impure. The next question. Write short account on the allelomorphic characters in pea plant. Pea plant containing a great number of allelomorphic characters, about 32 allelomorphic characters, but we will study 7 pairs of allelomorphic characters only, because the 7 pairs of allelomorphic characters are located on separated chromosomes. So the Mendel first law and second law can apply on these characters because they located on separated chromosomes. At the seed shape may be round or wrinkled. The wrinkled seed act as a recessive character, but the swollen one or the rounded one is the dominant. The seed color. The seed of pea plant may be yellow or green, but yellow act as a dominant character. Yellow, the green is the recessive. And we'll explain the Mendel's experiments to determine what is the character which is called the dominant and what is the character that's called the recessive one. The color of the flower in pea plant may be red or purple or white. So the red is dominant, but the white is recessive. And also the position of the flower. The flower may be grow from lateral side of the stem, which is called the axial flower or auxiliary. But the other one, which is called the terminal, that grow at the terminal tip of the stem, so that's called apical. And also the auxiliary dominant over the apical flower. And we remember that the presence of terminal flower or apical flower stop the growth of the stem. The bud shape, it's inflated or swollen, but the other is pinched. Pinched means segmented. The swollen bud is dominant, but the segmented one is the recessive. The color of the bud, green, which act as a dominant character, but yellow, which act as a recessive one. The tallness of the stem. The stem of pea plant may be tall or short. Tall, dominant over short. So the 7 pairs of allelomorphic characters which are carried by the Mendel, and the Mendel's first law can apply on these 7 pairs of allelomorphic characters. The next question. Write short account on Mendel's experiment on pea plant. What about the experiments that carried out by Mendel to explain which of the characters or the allelomorphic characters is dominant and which of them is recessive? In this part explains that when Mendel carrying a crossing between puffed and pinched bud or swollen and segmented one, all the generation at the F1 or the first filial generation with the puffed one or swollen, that means the swollen one is dominant. And also the yellow seed. If the yellow seed crossed with the pure green one, the individuals will be yellow. And also tall stem with the short one. All the individuals in the F1 will be tall. Therefore, Mendel explains that when the 2 allelomorphic characters are crossed, the characters that appear in the F1 as a axial flower in this part, that's act as a dominant. But the character which is not appear in the F1 as a wrinkled seed, that's called the recessive. But the rounded seed act as a dominant because it appear on the F1 or the first filial generation. So when Mendel carry out a crossing between pure green bud and yellow bud, the individuals produced, all of them will be green, and also the same in the yellow seed and the green one. The crossing produce F1 or first filial generation containing all individuals or 100% with the yellow seeds. But the green seeds is not appear in the F1 because it act as a recessive character. And in these cases is called the complete dominance. That means the dominant gene cancels the effect of the recessive one. But during the presence of two recessive genes, the recessive character appear. But the presence of impure individual containing Y capital, Y small, in this example, that means the individual will be yellow, not green, because the Y capital gene that act as the dominant one, but the Y small is the recessive. And also Mendel explains that each character represented by two genes because the individuals produced from the sexual reproduction between male and female. So any character produced by the crossing between the ovum and the sperm, or in the plant between ovule and pollen grain. So each character should be represented by two genes. In the pure dominant, the two genes are called capital letter, but the recessive represented by the same letter, but the letter is the small one. So the Y capital crossed with the little y or Y small, all the individuals produced will be Y capital, Y small. That means the F1 will be 100% yellow, but the F2 produce both of the two characters, but the ratio 3 dominant to 1 recessive. That means 3 yellow to 1 green. Therefore, the two characters appear in the F2 in the ratio of 3 dominant to 1 recessive. Therefore, Mendel explains that the yellow character represented by Y capital, because it has two factors or two genes of the character, and also the green seed represented by two letters Y small. So due to the segregation or the formation of gamete, that means one of the Y capital fused with the Y small. So all the individuals produced in the F1 Y capital, Y small, that means they are hybrid or impure. But the two parents, Y small, or Y capital, are called pure or homozygous. If the individual carry two genes or two similar genes of the characters that called the homozygous, but in this case, this individual or this yellow individual carry two genes of the character. One of them with the capital letter or dominant, but the other is recessive. Therefore, the dominant character appear in the whole individuals in the F1. But if crossing takes place between two heterozygous individuals which are produced from the F1, that means due to the segregation which takes place between the two factors or two genes of the character, that will form the three individuals yellow or dominant, and the fourth one will be green. So the ratio of Mendel's first law is 3 dominant or 3 yellow in this example and 1 recessive. Therefore, Mendel's first law explains that when two homozygous individuals are different in a pair of allelomorphic characters are crossed, the dominant character only appear in the F1, but the two characters appear in the F2 in the ratio of 3 dominant to 1 recessive. الحقيقه قبل مندل ما كانش في حاجه في الدنيا اسمها جيناتكس، ما كانش حد يعرف ان في حاجه اسمها جيناتكس. كانوا الناس بيزرعوا البي بلانت دي بقى لهم سنين، لكن ما حدش مشي بالساينتفك ميثود اوف ثينكينج، ما حدش يوز ماثيماتكس بالظبط كده،
بشكل عملي شويه او
بالظبط. فالشكل العملي ده هو اللي خلى مندل اللي بيقولوا عليه ذا فاذر اوف جيناتكس. يعني من غير مندل ما كانش هيبقى في الجيناتكس دي. فالراجل ده عمل مجهود فوق الخطير عشان يقدر يوصل للجيناتكس رغم ان الحاجات بسيطه جدا.